Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing really well and welcome back to my podcast, Life of an Artrepreneur. So a huge topic that I wanted to talk about today, which is AI and how it's affecting artists, whether it's a threat to artists and what it means for the future of artists, especially if you're wanting a full-time career in art. I think there's quite a lot to cover in this episode. There's definitely a lot of mixed opinions on AI, and to be honest, I can see how artists are worried about it because it's something that is almost like out of our control and we don't know like how advanced it'll eventually become. Like you hear all about how it's going to take over people's jobs, people won't need to work, but I also feel like it's so beneficial to artists and you can use it to your advantage to save yourself like hours of your time. So spending some time working it out, learning how it can help you so you get to a point where you can trust it rather than completely avoiding it will in a way kind of speed up your development and like overall production and organisation of everyday work life as an artist. And I don't think AI can be avoided at this point. It's definitely here to stay. So you might as well try and learn about it and try and incorporate it in some way that benefits you, because there is a lot of potential with it. And I think a lot of artists try and avoid it because they think, oh, I'm not interested in that. But if it's something that's here to stay and it's going to develop, you might as well learn about it and see how you can use it to your advantage. So how would an artist use AI to their advantage? So the main examples I can give from like a coloured pencil, pet portrait and wildlife artist standpoint is how you can use it to adapt or enhance the reference photos that you work with, or use it to create kind of art mock-ups and different compositions in a really quick and effective way. So for example, you might be commissioned to do a pet portrait where there's like 4 subjects within that one pet portrait. So usually I'd send the client multiple like art mock-ups or different layouts so they can decide whether they want them kind of all in a line and like a wide piece, or whether they want like a larger piece that's like rectangular where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like there's so many different layouts you can do. Like it's nice to help them visualize the different layouts and the different options that they could have with a pet portrait. You know, some people want them all very separate or like equally spaced out, and some people might want them kind of closer together so it looks like they're all kind of huddling together. But creating all of them art mock-ups and kind of using the different reference photos, cleaning up the background, positioning it to where you want, it does take quite a long time. And AI can literally create all of them for you really, really quick. So you end up with like 5 to 10 layouts that's taken you no time at all. So you have to provide the AI with the images and say like what you want, but then it'll literally give you all them layouts like that. And then you can send them over to the client, and it just saves you a lot of time because you don't need to like arrange them all yourself one by one. It's kind of doing the hard work for you, but you're still looking over all the layouts or like the pet portrait mock-ups, whatever you want to call them. And then you're kind of using your artistic judgment to decide which ones work well, which ones don't really work well, and then kind of filter them out and send the ones that you think look good to the client. Another example would be like the actual reference photos. So say for example you get given a photo of a dog that's lying on a blanket and they want another dog next to it, but they don't have a picture of that dog laid on a blanket, but they want the blanket to be kind of continuous so they look like they're kind of cuddling together. To do that with your own eye and to kind of figure out which little bit of the blanket goes where and kind of continue on that lighting and try and get it to all piece together seamlessly, that's going to take you quite a long time to do. And AI can literally do that for you, elongate the image, and it'll just literally do it like that. It's actually crazy what it can do. Like even for my workshop on Sunday, it went very well, by the way. So thanks for everyone that asked and wished me luck and everything. If you're watching this on YouTube, then I can actually show you what I mean. But basically for the workshop, we drew 3 deers and they were all individual photos. So it was like just 3 photos of 3 single deers. What I did was put them all into Procreate and I kind of positioned each of the deer where I wanted them to be. But obviously the backgrounds, because they were taken from 3 different images, were kind of all over the place. It wasn't all one background. So I used Canva's AI to basically continue the background so it looks like it was all part of the same image. So if I just show you the image that we worked from on YouTube, if you can see that. So you can't tell at all. It all just merges together nicely. The only thing is the end of the image is a little bit blurry, like a bit glitchy, but it's not something that you'd immediately notice. But I just thought it'd be a lot nicer and neater in the workshop to have all the 3D as part of one image. So I used Canva's AI to help me with that. The only thing I did with AI was the background. I positioned them exactly how I wanted myself to create a nice sort of composition to draw from. But it is really good in terms of helping you with those little things. And imagine if you were, a beginner artist, you wanted to set up your business and make a logo. You could literally say you want a logo that's to do with pets, that's very simple and to do with drawing. And it's going to give you loads of different ideas. And to be honest, most of them probably will be a bit rubbish. But I mean, you can filter through them and then come up with something or use one of them ideas and develop it. It's kind of an alternative to brainstorming your ideas. You can kind of use AI as inspiration and then develop or strengthen that one idea that you pick out or whatever it is. So yeah, it is quite good, but I can see how people are a bit wary of it, especially if they don't know too much about it. And to be honest, I don't know loads about it. I've only really recently started incorporating it in little things like this deer image and reference photos for commissions and stuff like that, just because it helps me save so much time. And I think being a pet portrait artist, you need all the time you can get, especially with coloured pencils because they take so long. So any little ways that you can help speed up your day-to-day process in terms of all these little tasks that you do in the day really does help. So what are some of the disadvantages of AI? So I think in terms of AI generated art, I think it lacks that emotional depth and that personal aspect that a physical hand-drawn piece of artwork has. I don't think it really captures the emotion or the overall process that you can capture when physically creating art yourself. I've heard some people say it can almost devalue human creativity because it can literally give you 50 ideas like that, 50 designs for something in seconds, and a human physically can't think or produce ideas or designs that quickly. But like I said before, that doesn't mean they're all going to be amazing designs, but then you've got to think, we as humans don't always create the best designs when we're brainstorming. But yeah, to say it can devalue that human creativity is a bit of a tricky one to kind of delve into. I think if you're a beginner artist and you've got drawing skills, you've got a few years of experience, and you start by offering a low price to get in the commissions and start building up more of a portfolio, which you should do. That's kind of where everyone starts. But the type of customers that can attract are people who probably want a quick sketch. They aren't as bothered about spending as much money on a personalised custom piece that's a highly skilled piece of art. And it's those type of customers who probably wouldn't bother with whether it's an actual drawing or whether it's AI generated art. Especially if they look the same, they'll probably just want the cheaper option. And go with that, which obviously would be the AI. So I do think it is difficult for beginner artists in terms of that when you are charging those low prices at the start. And that's why I say it's so important to market yourself in the right way and build a whole brand around you as an artist, because AI can't take that away from you. And I think it does make a difference to people knowing who or what created the piece of art that they're paying for, especially the clients who are willing to pay hundreds or thousands for a commission or original piece of work. I think they like seeing the artist behind the artwork and the whole sort of process of the drawing and seeing the artist drawing, seeing various stages of the artwork and the overall finished piece. And I think they want to pay those higher price points, for an artist who has spent years developing the skills and creating something using physical materials, and they've spent so much time and effort and care into that one piece that they're paying for. I don't think that can be matched with AI at all. I can see how it might be difficult outside of commissions. Say if you were a freelancer, you weren't a pet portrait and wildlife artist, but you were more of a graphic designer, or you did some creative jobs for companies here and there. I feel like companies that are hiring new artists for, I don't know, book covers or visual design work can now just go with AI produced artwork, as it's cheaper. It's not as complicated when it comes to copyright, and it's just very easily available. So I think I'd be more worried if I was a graphic designer more than a fine artist. But I don't know, it's kind of a difficult one. One huge disadvantage of AI generated art is how it can steal and plagiarize artists' work so easily. That's why it's so important nowadays more than ever to watermark your work. So your name is almost a part of that artwork whenever you see that image of your work online. But yeah, from my understanding, AI generated art kind of collects loads and loads and loads of images and creates a new one from them, or it can subtly alter an image to a point where it looks very similar to the original image and you're kind of questioning which one is the real thing. It's way too easy for someone to have an image of your artwork and, you know, use that as the input for the AI and they end up with something different but still similar. It's like, in a way, it's like stealing your work but disguising it as something else and giving you no credit for it. So for artists, it's really frustrating because in terms of copyright and plagiarism, unless you're watermarking your work, there's not really much else you can do. It's just a really frustrating thing because obviously you want to be credited for your artwork, and knowing that people can easily kind of manipulate an image of your work and, you know, sell it as their own is not great, really. But then it does get a bit confusing because you're putting your images online with that risk, but then it doesn't mean that people can just take them and do what they want with them. Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one to kind of explain because there's so many different parts of it. One thing I really don't like is how AI generated art is winning some competitions. I can't remember which one it was now. I read it somewhere where the winner of some competition was like 80-90% produced with AI, and then the artist just like tweaked little things at the end. And I really don't like that because it's taking the opportunity and exposure away from like actual artists. I think they should have, which they might do already, I don't know, like AI generated art competitions specifically for that. But then it's like, is it even an art competition if 95% of that finished artwork has been done by an AI program? Probably not. But it gets a bit complicated if you really deep it, because then people say, well, it's like the ideas that you're feeding into the program that's the art. But I don't really agree with that, because I think the idea and the process of creating the art kind of go hand in hand. It's that whole creativity of an artist. Like if you take a huge part of that away to be produced automatically with an algorithm, in my opinion, it devalues the work and it's just not the same. So what is my overall opinion on AI? So personally, at the minute, I do really like it. I am using it here and there to help with certain things, like I mentioned before, with the commission layouts and sort of enhancing reference photos, helping with compositions. And I am still figuring out how I can use it to assist my day-to-day workload or make daily tasks easier. And it's definitely finding that balance between the artist and the technology, so it's more of a beneficial collaboration between the two. I think artists definitely need to be aware of it and its potential. It's so ridiculously quick that it actually blows my mind, but then again, that's quite a scary thought at the same time, because you think, if it's this advanced now, where's it going to be in like another few years' time? I don't know to the full extent of what it can be used for artists. I know like the little bits, but I'm sure there must be more than that. I'm sure there's plenty of tutorials out there explaining sort of how you can embrace it and incorporate it into your workload that makes things a bit easier for you. But I'd never use it to like replace my artwork or digitally manipulate anything that I do physically in terms of drawing. Like I use it to help me with like the little bits, like the reference photos and the layouts, and that's probably about it. Like you've got to remember what the client is paying for, and that whole service and the time and the effort and the care you're putting into the artwork. You want AI to help you with little things that help speed up the process, but not really in terms of the physical artwork. I think digital and physical should be left separate unless you're like a multidisciplinary artist and that's your kind of style. But yeah, using AI to kind of replace anything isn't really great. I mean, I think it's the human element that makes art so unique. When you get rid of that and you replace it with AI, I think that's when it becomes devalued. Like a client or a gallery or a collector or anyone who buys your artwork knowing you're a realistic coloured pencil artist is partly paying for your time, your effort, and the skill required to achieve such like precise detail. I never just copy straight from a photo and make it exactly the same. I never want like an exact photo replica. Instead, I always try and bring out more of the colours or really capture the subjects that I'm drawing. And I'll often refer to a few reference photos, not just the one. So at the minute, I think AI has some level of creativity, but not that level where, you know, you've got that human judgment in terms of your creativity when it comes to creating a piece of art and capturing, in my case, an animal. Like as an artist, you just want that creativity to flow and you can kind of add bits in, take bits out, make it as much as your own as you want. And having an artistic eye for that really can't be replaced. It's like unmatched. I think on social media now, I know on Instagram, you have the option to label something as AI generated. So it makes people aware of the images that they're looking at and they can differentiate the two, which I think is a good idea, but obviously not everyone does it. So, you know, it's just one of them. I also think I'm making like 100 points at once here for my overall opinion, but there's just too many different things to consider. But like art is a luxury at the end of the day. It's a material thing, but it's also like a personal, emotional thing. It's a product, but it's also like a piece of creativity. But I guess in the world, it's not like an essential thing. Like we don't need art. Being an artist isn't like a key job. But I don't really think you can replace or replicate the personal creativity of an artist. I just don't think it has the same effect. So at the minute, I don't think AI will replace artists. And I don't really see it as a huge threat on artists' jobs because of everything that I've just mentioned, really. I just don't think you can copy that human creativity in the same way. But I hope I've given you some things to think about and consider when it comes to whether AI is a threat to artists or not. And I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on AI as well, especially if you're an artist. Let me know in the comments below if you use it and yeah, just your overall opinions on it, really. It'd be really interesting to kind of hear what you think as well, especially after I've just said about 50 different points. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you've been watching on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to see more art related content and future episodes. And if you've been listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, then I'd love it if you could leave a review. So yeah, thanks for watching and I'll be back next week with a brand new episode and I hope you all have a lovely rest of the week.